Hello, and welcome to She Leads Biotech, the podcast that celebrates women leaders in the bioscience space. I'm your host, Sharron Cox, CEO and Managing Director of CNA International, based right here in New York. And each week I'll be talking to women leaders about their work, their triumphs and challenges, providing invaluable insight into how women can unlock their superpowers and succeed on their own terms. So whether you're navigating your own career path in bioscience or you're passionate about science and innovation, I hope you're empowered and inspired by each episode. She's not our typical guest, and that's exactly why I wanted her on the show. Just 8 years into her career, but in that time she's moved from neuroscience research into medical affairs, now sales, and gained cross-functional experience, and most importantly, developed a deep sense of intentionality about where she wants to go next. In a climate where PhD graduates and early career scientists are facing more uncertainty than ever, her story is a valuable one. It offers a look at how to navigate career transitions, how to think critically about what you actually want from your work, and how to explore opportunities even when the path isn't clear. So talking to me today from a beautiful part of southern Italy, please welcome Barbara Commisso. Barbara.
Hello, Sharron.
Buon pomeriggio, Barbara.
Buon pomeriggio.
Pomeriggio. See, I thought I was so close there.
Very close. Very close.
Pomeriggio. Okay. My little app told me to silence the j.
Joe. That's tough. It's not a sound that you have in English. Joe.
No. There you go.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. In case anybody's wondering why I've suddenly broken out into Italian speaking, that's actually where you're based, right?
Absolutely correct. South of Italy right now. It's kind of hot season, to be honest, but yeah, that's a nice place where to live.
Okay, now make us all jealous and tell us the best thing about the part of Italy that you're in.
Well, the best part, the food. I know. That's so traditional to say, but the food is the best. After having lived abroad for several years, what I've missed the most was the food. And still I cannot live without.
You wouldn't notice that. You look like a stick insect, unlike...
Oh, thank you.
I do enjoy my food as well. So, well, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. I think as I mentioned to you, my angle with you really is as a buffer to support and to be a voice or somebody who's been heard by the PhD community, those who are still studying, those who are just leaving and trying to figure it out. And I was very impressed with how your career has started and you're sort of 8 years into it now. And I thought that would be a very interesting topic for our guests that are more in that demographics. They don't have to be thinking about, oh, I'll tune in and hear about a CEO, but wow, I'm so far away from that. So that is why I would love to hear your story, and I'm sure everybody else will as well. So talk me through from the beginning, what made you think about this space and how did you get into it? What did you do?
Oh, well, the beginning, okay. I am a biotechnologist by degree. I graduated in Italy, the University of Bologna, in molecular and industrial biotech. And I always had the dream, that the traditional one to find the cure for the worst disease. And I sincerely believed that the lab was my place, was the place to be. I also gave a thesis in genetics and found a mutation in a gene that then was published at the very beginning of my, career as a researcher. So I was extremely thrilled to jump into the preclinical research. So I decided to move into the PhD, but I didn't want to continue performing research in Italy because of several reasons. Few are at the personal level and some are also because of fundings and the level of the research that might be available in Italy is not always the best. So I started having a look around and spent a few months in Bath in England first.
I love Bath.
Yeah, it's a lovely place, isn't it?
Very beautiful.
And I started working on an animal model that was a zebrafish, always following a project focused on the genetics. And then I found what sounded like my own personal call. That was a project that was about to start in Ulm University in Germany, south of Germany, Baden-Württemberg region. So I just interviewed for that position and got the award and started the PhD there. It was part of an international graduate school. So I was part of a school, and there were other graduate students that each of us was having its own project, but we were all part of a bigger educational project. And it was very, very formative and challenging. It was a place where I had the chance to meet a lot of students from all over the world, professors, and also people from the industry that were interacting with us during our progression. It was great, especially because it exposed me a lot. My PI, the professor that was guiding me through my research, exposed me to congresses and publications. I was directly involved in several activities that were beyond my own research. And that was also extremely important. And this is exactly the reason why I decided to go abroad, because I knew that in Italy, these kind of opportunities are not very easily given.
Okay.
So after 4 years, I was drained, to be honest. It was also a tough project because it involved animal models. And after this, I started feeling a bit too much guilty. Although I am convinced that this is absolutely necessary for science progression and for proving good results. But it was a thesis focused on ALS and animal models mimicking the disease. So it was very, very tough at some points. But I decided that the academical path was not my own. I mean, it is challenging, and it can give back huge gratification and rewards, but was not to me. That's basically the reason. So also, as I said, I was missing my Italian food. I wanted to come back home. And I started looking around and evaluating alternative options to the academic traditional path.
Yep.
At that time, it was 2018. There were friends of mine that were already part of the clinical research environment, and I started hearing about opportunities in that field, and I took the leap. And while deciding to come back to Italy, I started from the scratch acting as a study coordinator in the psychiatric unit of an hospital in Bari, south of Italy. And that is the place where my journey in the clinical research started, basically. I was not very familiar with the clinical trial environment and task and duties, but I was perfectly aware about how to run a protocol and what it means to commit to a specific role and new challenges. Starting from there, I covered several roles. I jumped into different companies, and I eventually landed in a role that was not absolutely predictable to me. It's the business unit. So I am right now serving as a business development manager after several years in the environment within the CRO and the biotech. But yeah, I mean, identifying what would have been my best fit after the PhD was not easy at all. And at that time, I wish I could have someone that could have guided me better and, facilitating the choices and the evaluation that I had to conclude. So from that perspective, this is also one of the reasons why every time I receive a message, a call from former colleagues, but also people that I am not familiar with, maybe because we have connections, mutual connections through LinkedIn and so on. And there are people that, are brave enough or courageous enough to ping me and say, hey, do you know someone that can support or can open me one door, or are you aware how can I get into that master or into that course, whatever? I'm always extremely happy to pick up the call and spend a few minutes of my time to give my perspective and my advice, which of course is extremely personal, but can be very precious to someone that is dancing in the dark.
And so from the sound of it, your journey wasn't intentional through academia.
Yeah, through the academia it was intentional. So I wanted to start a PhD, but it also was intentional to stop there, that's for sure. It was not intentional. I mean, the trajectory that it took from the very first step as a study coordinator. I've been through the site identification and feasibility overall role, which I loved. I think it's one of the best part of the clinical research overall. Selecting the right sites is really a key to the success of a study, of a clinical trial, and also offers the real access to people, to new treatments. So you are, in practice, you are giving people the opportunity to do something and to access something that might not have been accessible otherwise. So it's very precious as a contribution.
We'll be right back after this promo, as today's guest is joining me from a gorgeous part of southern Italy. It's the perfect cue to talk about another must-visit spot on the life sciences calendar. Barcelona, 2nd to the 4th of September at the Hotel Arts. That's where Advanced Therapies Europe is happening, one of the most impactful events in cell and gene therapy. Brought to you by Facilitate, proud sponsors of She Leads Biotech. This is an event built for real networking, strategic deal making, and the kind of honest conversations that move the field forward. Just 500 spots, so it's intimate, focused, and packed with decision makers. One highlight, the Women in Advanced Therapies Congress, a dedicated summit for women and allies leading in cell and gene therapies. Expect sharp insights, real talk, and a room full of change makers. You want in? Head to facilitate.com, Advanced Therapies Europe, and use the code SheLeads20 for 20% off your ticket. That's SheLeads20, and yes, tickets will sell out, so get yours fast. Okay.
So the trajectory was absolutely not foreseen.
What do you think about the clinical trial space at the moment? I hear a lot of there's challenges in the clinical trial space. Is AI going to solve all of the challenges? Is it going to make the challenges worse? What's your take on that?
My take is that AI is not ready yet to take over, but it will be ready soon. So especially for the tasks that I covered, where at my times when I was acting within the feasibility teams, for several of the tasks that I was performing, there will be very soon, and I have seen some tools already available at a pivotal stage or a very embryonal phases, but there are tools that will be able to, I wouldn't say replace completely, to perform a lot of tasks that now are just responsibilities of humans. So, and also, I mean, that's for my personal experience, but I have been reading and hearing experiences, especially in the drug development, where AI will be a game changer completely. So it's not just a support, but something that will absolutely change the rules of the game. Right now, within the clinical research, I think I am not revealing any secret at the moment. It's very tough. Fundings and investments are tight, and big CROs have been laying off a lot of people. So the market is flooded, and there is a huge amount of talents that are looking for new opportunities and are facing tough time. I mean, also in my current role, I see how difficult it is to find small and medium biotechs being funded and ready, to invest money into new projects and starting new clinical trials. So it's not the best. I clearly remember when it was immediately after COVID, it was maybe 2021, when there was this huge bubble of hirings and clinical trials focusing not just on COVID, but that there was this hype on clinical trials and a lot of studies starting. This was absolutely stunning. At some point, insane. It was way too much. But right now, yeah, I do read articles from people that are expert studying the economics and movements of investments and so on. It's very difficult to predict, although there is a sort of flat curve right now. So things are like they are, and they will stay like they are for a while, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think so too. But also, it's when the highs are very, very high, like it was in 2021, just after COVID, the lows are even worse, aren't they? Because there's so much of a gap to fall, where the high was unrealistic, which has made the low seem even worse.
That's true.
So what you've worked in all around the world, so you've been in lots of different places. What's your experience of the US?
Well, although I've never worked in the US, but I've been working a lot with Americans, and I have always loved working with Americans. All my former line manager were based in the US. They were both women, and I had precious relationship with them. They were great. They have been models to me. And something that I really appreciate is that Americans do have this very direct way of approaching, even though at very different levels of seniority. So you feel directly involved, like taken into consideration, your voice is heard, and you are absolutely a part of a team. This is something that in Italy, especially, but I would say in Europe overall, is not very usual. So that there is a very strong definition and distance from the manager and the lower employee level. So where the manager is not very close to the team, and I think that this is not a very good strategy, but it's a cultural issue. It's not something that happens in the industry or in just this specific environment. It's a cultural.
Yeah, it's a bit like me being British. And one of the first things that I had to learn when I came to the US was just get on with it, say what you've got to say, and
exactly.
just say it. Because I was initially very, I'm terribly sorry to trouble you about such and such, but if you have the time that we could possibly talk about such and such. They've switched off by then completely. And so now I'm like finding my inner American, and it's like, hey, can we talk about such and such now? Absolutely. Or in 10 minutes time? And that seems to work a little bit better. So I think you're right, very much a cultural thing. But I was interested whether you had any insight into advancement of trials in the EU and the speed of trials in the EU as opposed to the US, only because my own experience of the EU, not so much the UK, but certainly in Spain and Italy, the lifestyle is so much different. So my experience has tended to be sort of mañana, we'll get to it at some point. Is that accurate, or is that just me being kind of discriminatory about the countries?
I think it's not true. But okay. I do realize that this is a stereotype that goes around, that in some cases it's real, especially on a daily based life, when you have to plan like cinema or a dinner with your friends and you try to schedule in advance. Then they are like, oh wait, no, let's chill and see how things go, and we will decide last minute. There's no need to schedule in advance. This is also, as I said, as a cultural issue. And I noticed this, especially when I was living in Germany. German people are absolutely not that way. They want their schedule made up, absolutely respected, and changes might drive them crazy. They absolutely don't want things to be changed, moved, or rearranged anyhow. Of course, we are talking on average, not all of them. Italian, Spanish, let's say Latin culture is more relaxed in general. When it comes to work, I must say, I have seen people in Italy. I have several colleagues right now in Spain and Portugal, and they are absolutely hard workers. Sometimes I am the one that I have learned working with Americans that when the 5 p.m. clocks, then you switch off your laptop and you have your life. You have your family, you have your children, you have whatever. You respect and protect your private life and the time to be dedicated. Strong with this lesson learned. I have been in the past the one saying, okay, I'm off. It's insane staying here way longer. But new generations, younger than I am, have also learned this lesson, and they are now respecting their private life and the time to be dedicated to their private life way more than it used to be from the former generations that have been the one that have managed in the office so far.
Yeah, that's generally, I'm of that generation, so you'll still find me in the office at 6 o'clock on a Sunday.
No good.
Something
No good.
ridiculous. It's not good, right? No, it's not good. And we should all adapt to finding that work-life balance. I know that that's something that's been sought after for a number of years and tried and tested. And then obviously you had all the COVID stuff with remote working, and that appears to be making a switch now. Are you finding that?
Yeah.
People are insisting that people are back in the office?
Yeah. So what I have seen, this in the environment of clinical research, this was absolutely stunning. I was not working in a clinical research before COVID, so I do not have a direct experience, but working with colleagues within the CRO environment, they told me that they were already given a few days of remote or home working during the week. And they were asked to go to the office like 2-3 times during the week. After COVID, a lot of CROs shut down, even closed their offices. I mean, all employees were fully remote. So, and this was also one of the reasons I was given the chance to step into the CRO environment, because in Italy, especially, all the companies do have their offices in North, in Milan. And I didn't have in my plans to move again and go back to the north of Italy, because I was born in the south and I have my relatives and family in the south, and I didn't want to move. So since those opportunities were given, working fully remote, I had the chance to step in. And since then, in Italy, I haven't heard any CRO that has been asking to employees to come back working in the office. There is only one that I have realized that they are asking right now, but is not in Italy, does not have any office in Italy. They have office in Europe. And they are now asking to be fully office-based. So no remote working at all, which I think it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's what's the reason behind it? It's difficult, isn't it? And I think everybody's come so far in a sort of work-life balance to maybe then take a step back. And it does seem to be women that are more impacted in this, because obviously we've always been the ones juggling just about everything. And to actually get to a place where you found pattern and you actually can fit everything in, because you're not spending an hour and a half each way on a commute, so that gives you so much more time. Those are the people that seem to be affected the most by changing that.
Yeah, and it's even more weird because the CRO, but in general, clinical research environment is made up of 80% by women. We are the majority for once. So it's absolutely, that does not make any sense for the company in terms of giving their employees a very good balance between work and life. Yeah, that's how it goes right now.
It is what it is, isn't it? So talk to me about the sales side that you're in right now. What's the nitty gritty of what it is you do? Because I know that was a new move for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's very recent. It happened in March this year. And well, it was absolutely unpredictable from my perspective, because I don't have a business education, but I found myself in the position of being my own business development, because in August last year, I started serving as a freelance consultant. So I was, of course, in the position of finding my own clients, partnership, and promoting myself, my services, participating to conferences and connecting with people and expanding my network, all those kind of activities that are needed when you have a new business in your hands. I mean, I wouldn't call it a business. It was just a personal initiative that I took, and it was kind of successful from my perspective. It was very rewarding, not only because of the clients that I served and the project that I closed, but also because it gave me the opportunity to see that my path at that point, I had the chance to learn a lot, and all those lessons learned were having an impact in the growth of my career on a concrete level. So it was very weird when in March I crossed the path of a CRO that was looking for a business development manager in Italy, which is very unusual. There are not so many CROs that are looking for an Italian person focused on the Italian market. And I interview, and there was a click. It was a match between me and the local management, and I say, okay, why not? Let's do it. And yeah, so right now I am in the business unit, working not only on strengthening the partnership with current clients, but also, expanding the portfolio of new clients. And of course, since I know that when you are given an opportunity, it's absolutely right to take it, but also then you have to keep up with the expectation and be ready to satisfy, which are my own expectation on myself, not anyone else. So of course I have planned to take some courses in business administration and finance, and fill the gap on the educational part that this role requires.
Excellent. Okay. So what does the future look like for you? Because obviously you're still very young in your years and in your career, but how far ahead do you think? Do you think about when you're going to be a CEO, or do you think about being part of the C-suite? Does that even float your boat? Do you think, I actually don't really care, don't really want to be part of that? What's your sort of thoughts on your journey?
To be honest, I don't like to think too much in advance. So my expectations are planned for the next 3 years, no more than 3 years. So within the next 3 years, my plan is to familiarize way more with this role. As I said, collect the certification and educational achievements and continue expanding my network. To be honest, I just want to follow the flow and see where things go, for two reasons mainly. One, because I still want to keep some space for my personal life. So I'm not investing my entire time on my work, like planning everything in advance and putting a lot of effort only on that side. But also because what I have learned from previous experience is that you can plan whatever you want, but life will drive you somewhere else.
That is so true. That is so true.
I don't want to waste my time planning. I will see.
Because you just have more of a disappointment then, don't you? If you plan something out and then somebody puts a spoke in the works, you're just, oh, what do I do now? So very sensible. So my final question to you is how we really started, with people who may be thinking about doing a PhD, thinking about coming into the clinical research space, want to come into the bio space, but don't know how. What advice would you give them? It's still pretty fresh for you. So what you've learned in the last 8 years, what would you say are the important things that you could pass on to someone else?
Well, be ready to start from the scratch. Be ready to start from basic role and learn the job from the very basic. Of course, this applies in my case because I came, coming from a PhD and academic path, I was not familiar with that. Of course, what would have been very helpful is completing a master. There are so many in Europe right now that can provide you with high quality education and certifications to provide a good knowledge of the topics and of the work, good enough to start interviewing for the roles. Yeah, so what I would say, if you see an opportunity, even for a role that is a bit lower compared to the expectation, just take it. That would be your step into the clinical research, and that will drive you forward. So that would be my advice. Just take the leap, plan your preferences, because clinical trial, is populated by so many roles. You can do so many things. And of course, being aware of your attitude and your preferences is absolutely important. If you want to be a CRA or if you want to be a regulatory manager, it's two completely different jobs and two completely different lifestyles. It's important to know what the kind of requirements that the role will ask, and you have to be compatible with those requirements. But after that, I think that starting from lower study coordinator, CRC, it's very good advice.
Okay. And if somebody doesn't know, they're like, I don't know if I want to do CRA, I don't know if I want to be doing regulatory. What would your advice be for the best way for them to find that out?
There are so many groups on Reddit, on LinkedIn, of people that do share their own experiences, or also they tell their own stories about how my daily work is, what a CRA is supposed to do during the regular working schedule, and so on. So I think that also digging among those kind of sources is useful. And again, if you think that role would fit with you, think the people. Identify some people in your network or close to someone that knows someone and ask for a conversation. That's something that I've been doing. For several times, I evaluated switching to a different role. For example, the MLS. I was not 100% sure that one could have been a role good for me. But I didn't know how to be sure. And so what I did was just looking around in my network, see if I had connections, that maybe someone that was serving as MSL or similar, and asking for a friendly conversation. It's very surprising how many people are open to share their opinion and experience. And they are always honest. They don't need to lie, because you are not asking anything personal. It's just a very friendly conversation and can be helpful.
So not to be afraid to reach out to people that you admire or that you want to emulate in the future, that they're very approachable people who are ready to help out somebody who wants some specific information.
Yeah, I think cool. It's a good strategy. Of course, must go together with other alternatives, but it's a good way to find out directly from the people that are serving in that role.
But it's been I can't believe how quickly 35 minutes has gone by. It's been so fast. I know, right? So once you get chatting, I go off into a world of my own. It's great. So listen, I want to thank you very much for your time. I'm sure this is going to be really helpful to those people who are coming through the ranks now, who are maybe struggling in this climate, to think, is there a career out there for me? But I think the advice that you've given has been very, very helpful. Thank you so much for giving me your time. And I'll let you get on with the rest of your day there in beautiful Italy, and go and plan your dinner, because obviously it's going to be important. But what supper's going to look like. I love Southern Italian food. My mouth waters just thinking about it. So don't set me off by telling me what you're planning to eat, because I'll be very, very jealous.
Give me a call whenever you are in the nearby.
I absolutely will. You can bet on that. If I know I'm going to be coming to Italy, I'll be reaching out saying, okay, Barb, where are we going to go for dinner, and what's the best food in the area? But it's been a pleasure. I wish you every success in your career. I know that we're connected on LinkedIn, so I look forward to following all the exciting things that you're going to be doing. And as I say, if you're in New York, look me up, and I'll do the same if I'm in Southern Italy.
Absolutely. I will ping you anytime I will be in New York, but I haven't planned to be there soon. Anyway, thank you again, Sharron, for hosting me. It's been a real pleasure talking to you today.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. She Leads Biotech is brought to you by CNA International USA, a woman-owned boutique search firm based in New York. If you're looking to hire talent for your company or want support in achieving your career goals, please reach out to me at contact@cnaint.com. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. And remember, the success of every woman should be an inspiration to another. so don't be afraid to share yours. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.